Welcome back. And as we earlier said, that inspections are working tooth and nail, the preparations rather are working up tooth and nail to be able to be prepared for the upcoming huge event, the conference COP27, expected this November at the Red Sea Resort of Sharm el-Sheikh. And this is where Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli went to take a quick look over or inspect the ongoing development preparations and developments in the projects in Sharm el-Sheikh. And according to the development of Sharm el-Sheikh Airport, its capacity would be increased from 7.5 million annually to 9.5 million passengers to keep pace with the increasing touristic traffic in the city. The Prime Minister also inspected developments and work at the old market in Sharm el-Sheikh, and he was briefed on the development plan of the old market as well as a landscape plan. And we're very delighted to be having with us over the phone Dr. Hafez Salmawy, professor at Faculty of Engineering, Cairo University. Good morning, Dr. Salmawy.
Good morning.
How are you doing, sir?
Very good, thank you.
Give us your intake about the preparations underway in the City of Peace to host the COP27 and the other developmental projects that are associated with those preparations.
I think the preparation might go in two directions. One of them is to promote Sharm el-Sheikh as a tourist resort, to attract more tourists to Sharm el-Sheikh, keeping the importance of this event where more than 10,000 people attend usually this event, in addition to maybe more than 20 presidents from all around the world, and this will keep Sharm el-Sheikh in the focal point of all the world. This is part one. Secondly, Sharm el-Sheikh should be promoted, or the plans to be promoted as a sustainable city, which means that to be consistent with what the COP is about. So many activities taking place regarding improving landscapes, regarding maximizing use of renewable energy. Many hotels start to have their solar PV systems. Sharm el-Sheikh Airport will be partially powered by solar system, recycling waste in a way, using sustainable transportation such as electric buses and natural gas buses. More than 80 electric buses already now will be used in order to transport the delegates from their hotels to the meeting place. So this is to create a kind of consistency between what Sharm el-Sheikh could be, as well as what the objectives of the COP, which is reaching a sustainable world.
Right. What about the importance of the conference and the fact that Egypt is hosting it at this? I mean, let's talk about the timing of hosting the COP27.
Actually, COP27, our COP generally usually takes place during November. It's a UN conference. It is basically try to gather all countries in order to discuss and reach an agreement regarding challenges facing the world regarding the climate change. This third time COP takes place in Africa. It took place before in Durban in South Africa and in Marrakesh in Morocco, and this is the third time to be in Africa. How Egypt to host a COP is a very good message about what Egypt is doing regarding climate change, and it's kind of recognition of what Egypt could do for other African countries in order to support that. Regarding Egypt, basically, the COP is representing a kind of, I think, a good message that Egypt already has achieved a very good position regarding fighting climate change. Egypt has issued its strategy for 2050 for climate change. Egypt is planning to present its NDC to the COP, as well as Egypt has made a good progress in using the renewable energy and doing a mitigation also for emission as well as adaptation. Egypt has a very big program to adapt with expected climate change, as in Egypt, one of the vulnerable countries which could be affected by climate change.
Right. Why do you think it's a must? Of course, it's a must to develop the infrastructure and develop the roads and establish and maintain the roads and prepare it to receive the huge numbers of visitors for that conference, and also upgrade the utilities and services that are provided during the session of or the course of that important conference. But at the same time, there are sideline events and business that should be taken with that COP27. How do you elaborate over that?
Yes, actually improving road and accessibility to the city is very much important. It's very much, as we said, there is a massive number of visitors will be available in the city. They should move smoothly from their hotels to the convention center, as well as, after meetings, usually they socialize. And this is very much important because this, I say, unofficial discussion usually play a very important role in reaching agreement. So Egypt and Sharm el-Sheikh in focus would like to create a kind of a very conducive, I say, environment for reaching this agreement. And success of COP for sure will be a success of Egypt as a hosting country, because the hosting country has a key role in order to reach kind of an agreement and providing initiative and proposals to reach such kind of agreement. So make the city accessible, moving smoothly, a relaxing environment. This is very much important to achieve.
Right. When we talk about the city of Sharm el-Sheikh, that is the city that's supposed to host the COP27, it's one of the best resorts worldwide, and it's an environmentally clean city, and also it's one of the most charming touristic spots to be visited. How is that going to add to that very important UN convention?
This normally, and I would say that usually when the UN select a destination for each convention, specifically for the COP, which is usually talk about sustainability, environment, clean environment, usually they select a representative city for conveying this message. Sure, they will not go for a heavily industrial, highly polluted city to have such kind of a meeting. Otherwise, you provide a kind of stereotype like a message. But selecting a city like Sharm el-Sheikh, which really express all the values the COP would like to convey, usually is, and it was a good selection, by the way, for selecting Sharm el-Sheikh. So, I mean, this is very much important to have what they call it, the subject is exactly represents what could be seen outside. So I think Sharm el-Sheikh or the environment of Sharm el-Sheikh will have its impact on making a successful COP.
Right. Let's talk about the need to maximize share of clean energy in the country's electrical capacity mix to reach 42%. How important is it?
This is very much important. Actually, 42% is what was expected by the strategy 2035. But now we are upgrading this strategy or updating this strategy to 2040, and due to the reduction, substantial reduction in cost of renewable energy, and as the strategy is built on the least cost concept, it's expected that we will go far beyond the 42%. I couldn't say how much because this is under development so far, but I would say what I could say it will be far beyond that. The challenge is not just the target, how much we could reach. The challenge, how much we could achieve. And this is need a very much of improving our investment environment, make it more conducive for a additional investment, accelerate all actions like land allocation, offering permissions. It will be very much important in order to achieve the possible target which we could have.
Right. The governor also reviewed the executive position of several projects to develop and raise the efficiency of road networks within the vicinity of Sharm el-Sheikh.
Sure, as I mentioned, that this is very much important to improve the accessibility because many people might come directly to Sharm el-Sheikh, others might come to Cairo and then travel to Sharm el-Sheikh. Improve accessibility to the city is very much important, make it safe, make it comfort. I think all this kind of action will help in facilitating the reaching an agreement for or creating environment which help for reaching an agreement and make the meeting a more relaxing environment, which I believe will give a very good message to the convention in order to reach a good agreement.
Right. How to evaluate the efforts by Egypt to become a passageway for the transit of the clean energy and a pivotal hub for electrical interconnection between Europe and Arab and African countries?
Actually, Egypt is doing a key role. Actually, Egypt has endowed by an excellent, I would say, or very distinguished location. It's a crossroad of three continents. So Egypt, along its history, even from all ages, was a passage for trade and traffic between different parts of the world. We have the Suez Canal, we have the Salmawy line, but Egypt also increased its role through creating or being involved in much more interconnection, both for gas and electricity. In electricity, Egypt is connected in 5 dimensions. Egypt is connected to the east through Jordan, Syria, and Lebanon, and there is a plan to extend to Iraq, connected to the Gulf states through Saudi Arabia, connected to Sudan, connected to Libya, and there is a plan to connect with Europe. There is 2 plans now for interconnection with Europe. The line which is underway, which is in Egypt, Cyprus, Greece, and now there is another proposal of 3,000 megawatt interconnection directly from Egypt to Greece. All of this will improve very much exchange of energy between Egypt and its neighboring country, and even Egypt could be a transit country for energy from different parts to other parts of the world. So now we talk about the interconnection between Gulf states and Morocco. If all interconnection has been completed. So Egypt is playing a key role, and Egypt is quite aware about its role in that and working in developing the capacity.
Right. Could you please shed more light on the methods and mechanisms by which we can increase the capacities generated by the wind turbines in order to maximize the utilization of wind energy in several geographical locations across the nation?
Actually, Egypt has been endowed with a substantial quantity of wind energy. We was believing before that wind energy might be just focused on Gulf of Suez, but it has been realized that wind energy is spread everywhere in the country. We have in the Golden Triangle, east to Sohag, very good area. We have south to the oasis in the Western Desert, substantial area. I just to give you an idea, one of these zones might produce energy more than what could be extracted from Zoflo field. So we have many areas with excellent wind scheme, over 9 meters per second, which could put Egypt in a very good position. According to the Global Wind Atlas, Egypt could generate over 360 gigawatts of wind. If you could imagine this number, this covers demand of Egypt, demand of the Middle East, even demand of Europe and Africa. So this is very substantial quantity. But our challenge is basically we have the resource, we need to exploit and use this resource as much as possible.
Right. What about the Green Energy Passageway project in Egypt and its targets and aim? If you'd like to shed or take a comprehensive look over that particular project, because it's very important.
Yes, actually, just around 2 or 3 years, the role of green hydrogen started to be highlighted as a kind of an approach to green sector, which couldn't be green directly using electricity generated from renewable energy, such as production of ammonia, production of steel, some petrochemicals. So Egypt was very well aware about the role hydrogen could play in future, and it shows that it's ready to go in a kind of a partnership with many international partners in order to start process for use of renewable energy to produce green hydrogen. So the Suez Canal Economic Zone really as an economic zone which have more conducive environment for investment, really announced its readiness to host, and they will focus to make Sokhna as a center point, because in Sokhna there is many ammonia production facilities available, as well as there is a port for exporting ammonia. So it's a very much suitable, and it's very much close to renewable energy resources in the Red Sea and Gulf of Suez, and even in the offshore of the Gulf of Suez. So we have renewable energy, we have an export facility, we have already existing production facilities. So this is attractive around maybe 8 billion of investment. Sure, this agreement still an MOU and under evaluation by partner, but expected during the COP, many of this MOU might be transferred into contract or start to develop. We talk about over 3 million tons of green ammonia. We talk about close to 1 million tons of green fuels by different international, well-recognized companies around the world.
Right. Could you please shed more light over the localizing green hydrogen and green ammonia projects at the economic zone of the Suez Canal, as well as also the proposed sites to these projects in the industrial zones and ports that are affiliated with the Suez Canal Authority?
This is what I have been mentioned, that Suez Canal Authority or Suez Canal Economic Zone, practically, because Suez Canal Economic Zone work according to specific law, which make it much more dynamic in taking investment decision, enabling land, enabling utilities. So this is very much well recipient, would be very much well recipient for this investment. Also, I should point also another point, which is basically Egypt's sovereign fund. Actually, most of the development projects for green hydrogen, which is taking place in the economic zone, basically part of them, there is a partnership, which is public-private, we could say, public-private partnership between the Egypt Sovereign Fund with different degrees of participation of this fund, which it could stimulate and reduce the risk for investors. So it represents a kind of more attractiveness for the international developers to be involved in green hydrogen. Also, Suez Canal is very close to Europe. Europe, according to the European strategy for 2050, is expected that there will be a gap of 30 million tons of hydrogen for Europe between what Europe could produce from its indigenous resources of renewable energy and what Europe needs for hydrogen. Europe need will reach 60 million, only 30 million could be produced internally, and they will need for another 30 million from abroad. Egypt and Suez Canal as a closed passage could represent a very good opportunity. And this is why we find many of the developers already who are involved in MOUs with the Egyptian government are basically our European partners, because they understand there is opportunity. Egypt has a very strong background in renewable and have very rich resources and have an appealing environment, investment environment. So all the ingredients is there. What we need to do is to exercise these ingredients to reach a benefits for all.
Right. Dr. Hafez Al-Salmawy, Professor of Faculty of Engineering, Cairo University. I'd like to thank you, sir, so much, and you have a beautiful day. And I guess this is where we end this edition of The Breakfast Show. Many thanks to all of you.